We went to a dinner party, and a batch of men were speaking. Since I didn't know any of the women, I sort of stayed with the men. And one of the guys said, if your wife, that sweet little girl with the pregnant stomach, would get licensed, you could write off a room in the house, a part of the car. It would be such a clever thing. By the way, that was about as far afield from anything that I ever would have thought that I ever wanted to do, ever, ever, ever. And I just laughed. After a week, I was buckled up and sent to the insurance school, where I sat with a batch of men and was bored out of my mind, never thinking that I'd ever actually go into that business. I didn't understand one single word that they said. It had its own language. I didn't understand the language. Liability, what is that? But in any event, I realized in short order that none of the guys understood it any better than I. And eventually, you learn. And I actually discovered that I found it very interesting and liked it. I became licensed really just to write what was then called a side risk business. I was never really supposed to be in business. I was just supposed to handle that because you could charge a $10 fee. And it was legal as long as somebody was properly licensed. And so that was my, purpose in life. But it never happened that way. So what happened is I spoke to the butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker, and lo and behold, they all had interest. Because I learned very few people understand their insurance policies. And to tell you the truth, in the beginning, I didn't understand it either. It's one thing to take the test and be licensed. It's another thing to have practical knowledge. That actually took a good long time. But I didn't have any pretenses. When I spoke to the butcher and the baker, I didn't pretend to know what their policies were. I asked to see it, and then I worked with people in insurance companies who helped explain everything to me. Bit by bit, I learned. And I would say it took a good 5 years before I had any clue what I was doing. But over the course of time, I became involved in all aspects. And the more that we wrote, the bigger it became. And then all of a sudden, I needed 2 people and 3 and 4 and 10. And it was a nice thing.